Avernum Escape from the Pit is a turn-based isometric role-playing game that may not have impressive visuals, but stands up on its own, and then some, on its other aspects. The game puts you in the role of an exile who gets consigned into the eponymous underground world of Avernum after having been found guilty of a crime. After you land in the Stygian gloom, you meet one NPC after another, some friendly, some hostile, and you soon assemble a four-man party and embroil yourself in the affairs of the vast underground world. Vast is indeed the word to describe Avernum. It might be an underground warren where the Empire stuffs what it deems as its undesirables, but the place is as large as most RPG worlds. Castles, towns, mage sanctuaries that teeter on the edge of lakes of lava, and monster lairs dot the landscape. Most of these hold NPCs that give you quests, and while a good number of these missions are linked ones that form the main plot, the rest are optional side quests that range from the harrowing to the hilariously absurd. Absurd? Yes, there are quests in the game that lets you deal with eccentrics, and a community of zany individuals whose nature I won't divulge here. Most of the RPGs that have grabbed my undivided attention are ones that feature open-world non-linear gameplay. The Golden Sun and Zelda series, as well as the multitude of Metroidvania games, are prime examples. Avernum Escape from the Pit is no different. It has captured this formula and instilled into it an immersive story that tells the plight of the different fiefdoms that have emerged in this subterranean realm. In the game, you have the freedom to go gallivanting among civilized holdings and outlying territories that not even the hardiest militia patrol. During the course of the game, you'll get quests that necessitate that you go to and fro among Avernum's locales. You'll also get to acquaint your party with enterprising NPCs who need specific goods. All these make your expeditions across the lands of Avernum rewarding. There's never a moment in the game where you feel lost. You will have always a destination in mind, and this is just one of the things that make the game addictive. Gameplay. Combat in Avernum is a turn-based tiled affair, where you and the game's AI take turns moving characters and dishing out damage. It has its flaws like tiles becoming unclickable if there are too many characters gathered around a small area, but overall Avernum's combat is a pretty engrossing experience. In it, you get action points, and you can spend these by moving, attacking, casting spells, using items in your inventory like potions, wands, wizard staffs, and food. Watch out though, the game does use a similar attack of opportunity mechanic like the one employed by Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons, in that crossing tiles adjacent to an enemy consume more action points than the usual one tile moved is equals to one action point consumed rule. Attacking or casting spells also eats up a huge chunk of a character's action points, so much so that it almost always brings the pool down to zero. Attacking also bars you from moving further no matter how much action points are left, so deciding when to attack is a crucial factor in battles, especially if you're up against a powerful group. Graphics. Is the game a sight to see? Well, remember that Avernum is a remake of a 1995 video game, and while the game engine has been replaced, the aesthetics are more or less the same stuff you saw way back the mid-90s. That doesn't mean to say that it looks bad. Avernum has decent sprites, and the isometric terrain does its job. Spell effects are not too shabby, and while there is no ambient lighting owing to it being an isometric 2D game, some of the area of effect spells are actually impressive to behold given the game's age. Enemies and NPCs have a great amount of variety, but not too much that you don't see reused sprites. A good deal of enemies you'll see in the late game use the same sprites that you'll see in the early parts. Zombies and ghosts are prime examples of enemies with recurring visuals. What disappointed me greatly though were the summons. I invested points in my spellcaster's summoning abilities, and imagine my chagrin when the late game summoning spells only produced recycled sprites. Imagine if you were able to summon a fiery archangel bedecked in plate mail. An avenging angel tearing down through the ranks of undead would have been a sight to see. No dice, the game doesn't let you have that. Audio. The audio department is sparse and mundane. There's nothing really I can complain about it, except for the dearth of background music. There's just a track when you fire up the main menu, but during the game there's a pronounced absence of music. The only background sound you hear in the game are ambient sound effects. Walk into a cave network and you'll hear drops of water as of ones falling from stalactites. Enter a bustling city and you'll hear the usual din of hawkers and street urchins playing on the streets. Audio effects in combat are good but not spectacular. Sheets of lightning crackle, fans of searing flames boom and hiss, and parried sword strikes sound as they should. Replayability. Age versus gameplay. It's easy to see how Avernum's replayability can be a pretty divisive point. On one, retro gamers love replaying this game that lets you relive the good old days of the 1990s. On the other side of the coin, younger gamers may be put off by its visuals, and despite its multiple endings, may consider this game a one-shot affair. There's also the matter of its length. Gamers who love protracted adventures blasting hordes of undead and fantastical creatures will find this game up their alley, while ones who are easily distracted by new releases might find this one to be a stubborn guest that overstays its welcome. However, naysayers should note that the game has multiple endings, lets you ally yourself with whatever faction you want to join, and the ability to customize your party with whatever members you see fit to add. Final thoughts. After all this, the question is, with its dated graphics, is Avernum Escape from the Pit worth its $10 price tag? At more than 90 hours of gaming on my first playthrough across a vast 2D isometric nostalgia-inducing landscape filled with interesting locations peppered with lairs, strongholds, and powerful artifacts that only the most intrepid will discover, Avernum Escape from the Pit is definitely worth its price of admission. Add to this almost peerless writing, and it's easy to see why I'm regarding this game as one of the best in my collection. This has been Retroburn, and I hope you like my review. For the full in-depth review on my website of Avernum Escape from the Pit, click on the annotation or on the link found on the description box. Stay cool, stay frosty.